Welcome, everyone, to Stone Soup Poetry. Welcome to everyone who is here live, and welcome to everyone in advance about 24 hours from now, or I should say 12 hours from now, to everyone's listening who is listening to this on our YouTube channel. After the fact, we had a lot of great responses to Sue's Voice feature, so I'm hoping to keep the YouTube goodness going with tonight's final feature for National Poetry Month. I wanted to get a good closer, and from everyone from the Stone Soup crowd to the Lily Poetry Review crowd to Gloria Monahan's crowd when she hosted her open mic a little while ago. That I had a pleasure to be a featured reader at for Tim Gager. Said, you got to get in, you got to get in, and I kept on saying, I know, I've been waiting. We've been ships passing in the night, and it's very fortunate that we have her here today, and I do recommend you grab her books, which we'll go into, which I'm sure she'll read from at length. And hopefully there's a spattering of new work. I hope everyone's been writing poems for National Poetry Month and doing good work, getting good work published. A lot of magazines are taking them. Gnashing Teeth Publishing is accepting a poem a day submission until the end of April for potential publication on their website for National Poetry Month. And there's more calls for submissions to be announced tomorrow on the Stone Soup Facebook page. So if you haven't joined that yet, I highly recommend you do so. And hopefully the next issue of Stone's Throw, nearly decade, it took me long enough, old issue since it was announced to when it's going to be published, will hopefully be out by May 1st. That is my goal. And it looks good. And I thanks to everyone who may have sent contributions to that. And we are going forward. And with that, we're just going to get right to the feature. And it gives me great pleasure to welcome Elezabeth Pluto, poet with much aplomb. A lot of our New York area crowd were sending notices of regret, RSVPing, saying they could not make it, but they were so upset because they love Anne's work. And after this, if you've never seen or heard her work before, I bet so will you. She is ensconced in the Lily Poetry Review crowd, which is one of the best publishing presses and forces in the Boston poetry scene in the last 5 years or so. Exciting work, working with a lot of established poets, including very established and legendary poets like Carol Weston. I can't wait to see the results of the labor in the next few years. They are the force to be reckoned with. They are the ones to watch. And they are the ones to read and hear. And Elezabeth Pluto grew up in Brooklyn, New York before it was cool. She is professor of literature and theater at Lesley University in Cambridge, Massachusetts, where she is the artistic director of the Oxford Street Players. She is an alumna of Shakespeare and Company and was a member of the Worcester Shakespeare Company from 2011 to 2016. She was a member of the Boston small press scene in the late 1980s and is one of the founders and editors of Nix's Mate Review and Nix's Mate Books. She has 2 full-length collections, The Deepest Part of Dark from Unlikely Stories Press, NOLA until 2020, and the most recent, as I said, from Lily Books, aka Lily Poetry Press, Lily Poetry Review, How Many Miles to Babylon, is April 24th, just a little past 7 o'clock. Okay, a lot past 7 o'clock, but what are you going to do? We are here, and she is here, and you're going to put your hands together virtually, audibly, visually, emoticonally, however you want, 30, 40 times for Anne Pluto.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for asking me to be your closer for National Poetry Month. That's such an honor. So can you all hear me okay? Because I'm using earbuds.
Perfectly.
All right, great. So this is from my first full-length book, The Deepest Part of Dark, and it is a poem for the poet Mark Statman, who now lives in Oaxaca, Mexico. And the name of the poem is Moon Milk. And I don't know if people saw the moon last night. Did you all see it? Or the night before, we had a full moon, huge, like a glowing, glowing moon. So here we go, Moon Milk. The moon is made of milk, a perfect round sphere, a ball of spun silk stars trailing over your favorite Brooklyn saloon, the tar roof beaches where skylights mark the night like diamonds made of pointed steel and isinglass. The anchored ladder, the hanging mop, the chores that spin us round like tops, the farewell letters, the last look back. The sun is rising from your folded map. The closing door, the brownstone stoop, the coming winter where you will no longer be in the loop. The dark street beckons towards the waiting train. The light is fading. The waning moon is made of milk, the perfect round sphere, a ball of spun silk. Oh, thank you. I want to read a couple of poems about my father. So the first one is called My Father's Hands. Played with iron, played with fire, played with shoes that horses wore, proudly on hard packed dirt roads that led to the border. My father's hands played with girls, played with guns, went to war. My father's tethered hands dug the airstrip trenches, survived the Russian winter marches, and sleeping in the silent Soviet snow. My father's hands survived the famine in the East, survived the madman hiding in the Kremlin. My father's hands held the rail of the boat that crossed the Caspian Sea, fed the orphaned bear, and learned to drive amidst the oiled fields of Kirkuk. Where the prophet Daniel lies, my father's hands touch the wall, the stones, the sepulchre, the pyramids, the valley of the tombs of kings, the graves of orphans, and things friends left behind. My father's hand held my mother's wedding ring and long black hair, held my newborn self, and breathed me pure into the winter air. Thank you. And here's another one for my father. It's called Summer, but my mother's in this one too. I want to memorize this, our time together, what we did without her there to tell me, you wouldn't want this life. You're not cut out for it. And me, the child holding the reins of an unruly horse as you took off its shoe and examined its foot before putting the new one in place, for riding far away from the dirt I had pulled carrots shaped like mandrakes, or had stolen sour apples that fell beneath the huge tree where yellow and green caterpillars hung like earrings in the twilight, or sugar I'd taken from the box in the pantry when she wasn't looking. It was a fortune of smuggled goods with which to win them over, to keep them still and nudging me for more while you attended to their hoofs. She tells me what to do, miraculously knows if I've lost something she has given me, as I should only like what she had, and I don't care. I take these things and wait for prescience to cover me like a blanket. She misses you and wants to die. You are in every dream she has. They fill her up to being young, and upon waking, she reaches backwards to you, left only with the bed half empty. I'm dying to be honest and sit her down to listen finally to me, to see me as I truly am. It's almost hopeless. And I cannot bear her cursing in 3 languages. For all the good it does her, it sends me into silence. I've charted the stars to find the constellation of forgiveness. its open Milky Way inviting me forward to resurrection, to love, to the familiar made over against the odds of time and space. I've memorized this now. The young girl, her long hair slipping from the braids, the mandrake carrot in her open hand, the unruly horse tamed and looking at her with trusting eyes, and her blacksmith father whispering in Russian, Держи, держи ему сильно, hold him tight. Thank you. So my father was a blacksmith, obviously, you could tell that. And then many years later, I married a cowboy, which I think only makes sense. And we were only married for, I think, like 14 years. And he passed away in January of 22. And we did hospice care for about 6 months. And I have a big section of poems in How Many Miles to Babylon about that experience. So I'm going to read, I'm sorry, a few of them. On the day we got your diagnosis, the air feels like snow, but the storm is inside the restaurant, quiet at 2. You are waiting for a burger and fries in the booth in the back. Neither of us will cry in public. The nurse told you to tell me. It's only fair. The last few weeks heavy, punctuated by the cold and your need to turn up the heat. You keep yourself busy. Guitar, the trial, plans for the spring garden that may never happen now. This one's called Chess. There is no playbook for the dead, the dying, the caretakers, the family. Hospice provides a map. Drugs arrive delivered right to the front door. Nurses, chaplains, social workers, volunteers, contraptions, beds that breathe throughout the day and night. Oxygen that becomes a lullaby. Sheets of paper to keep score. Morphine 4, patient 0. Haldol 5, patient 0. Syringes filled to the correct line, gently insert in the inside of his cheek. That didn't hurt until the end. We play chess, the set that arrived from Istanbul. I always play for Salah ad-Din, you for Richard and his Templars. I walk you through every move. I let you win. And then the knights, the pawns, the queens, the rooks, the imams and bishops, the king and sultan get put away. I have not opened them since that day. It hurts to see them in their splendor. And the next one, oh, thank you. Thanks. The next one is called Morphine. I don't cry unless I hear the songs I fought to play. My own struggle with impatience, your voice coming back over the Caprock prairie, all cattle lowing and cotton blowing in the thorny circles, the hawks visible in the hot July sky, blue until the end, your eyes were alive, even when you could only whisper, even when you called me by some other woman's name, even when you begged me to overdose you. It's silent now, it's hot, and all that I can hear are the birds. This one's called Hush Puppy. I stop taking notes when hospice arrives, and the notebook in my purse becomes a scratch pad for shopping lists, for restaurant menus. Shaken seafood does not have fried okra, no matter how many times I ask. No red beans. No, we are not in Texas, but they do have a fried catfish basket with French fries, onion rings, and hush puppies. The dog under the bed listens to the undulating sound of the mattress. Your weight shifts in the night of disturbed sleep. In the beginning, there is only the TV that I turn off once you are sound asleep. Hush, puppy. Thank you. We'll keep going on the dog theme here. This one's called Dog and Bed. Your death was easier in winter. The dog's still alive, my constant companion, learning to navigate the world with only his right eye. I had to bring myself completely to the table, the one where I hand fed him on the kitchen floor, disguising medications to look and taste like treats. He was brave. A cold January afternoon when you died, he sat next to me, suspended, the pewter silence of the new year pressing in my throat. The hospice nurse came to fill out papers, and the funeral director sent 2 young men. They were late. It was a good day for death, and we waited, warped in silence. When they arrived, the dog walked to the fence to guide them in patiently, sitting by the hospital bed as they wrapped you in your sheet, lifted your washed and broken body onto a gurney. The dog watched. They zipped, and once again he led them out to the gate. I turned off the bed, the mattress deflating, the snake-like hissing at its unnatural end. All is silence. That night, I still slept on the couch. I had forgotten how to use a bed. Just a few more on, there's 3 more on this theme. Thank you. What you left behind. Your notebooks where there are messages I cannot bear to open. You left guitars and music and fishing line and reels, poles and lures, flies on the wall, assemblages of feather and white-tailed deer to fool the largemouth, bass hooks and weights, your clothes, your Stetson hats, Lucchese boots, chaps. I am separating by size to divide. No one will play dice to receive a chess set from Istanbul. A gift for me. We played the first few months of hospice, your focus shifting. I find notes on how the queen moves as far as she can see in all directions. But how little joy enjoys the queen thereof. For I am she and altogether joyless. That last line's from Shakespeare. All right, thank you. This next one is called Into the Heart of the Dust. I'm finding you in books. Open the dust jacket revealed that God is alive. You were always a searcher, a believer, a deceiver. You took notes to remember what you read. God is love, and heaven is a place where you wait at the gate for Peter, the rock, roll away the stones, the gospels of prosperity, the Pentecostal prairie pageant you were born into, the Texas wilderness, all tumbleweed and rifles, cows and horses, Second Amendment, the well-guarded militia, the assault rifles you carried as a ranger. It fades into the horizontal. the looming highway, north to Amarillo, east to Dallas, south to El Paso, west to New Mexico. I'm going to stand in the marketplace at Clovis and buy a pair of pointy boots. I'm going to scatter the dirt of the earth in memory of the dead, the maligned, the innocent. I'm going to sing my heart into the heart of dust, the carefully tended acre of mistrust. This last one, thank you. This last one about my husband, he was a believer and he really struggled as he came close to his death about what was going to be there. And what if there wasn't God? You know, what if there wasn't heaven? And we would talk about it a lot. So this poem came from something that I told him to think about. It's called El Paso. I thought perhaps you were here, a house so dark that even the dead could find their way back. How is it that you are gone? I tried to find the portal, the hole in the sky that would open and you would rise from your broken body and touch the gate. Were those ponies lost in childhood to terrible accidental deaths were whole and grazing, lifting their magnificent heads in weight. And you, a child in a big hat, broken in boots and silver spurs with jingle bobs that sing and rake the pasture. The trail you leave behind, only a hole in the sky. The wolf moon beckoning forward. The house silent, the dog finally at rest. The winter, this winter, and you in that Texas pasture, tenderly resting your face in the neck of your first pony, the paint horse from El Paso. Let everything be made holy again. Thank you. How much time do I have? You're muted.
I've been enjoying this so
Oh,
much.
thank
I didn't
you.
even, I was looking at the time. Let me see. If you want to do a few more, you're more than
Sure,
welcome to. I think
okay.
we're all transfixed
Oh,
and want to hear more.
thank you. So my husband died in 22 and I'm, going through that. And then in February, Vladimir Putin decides it's a good idea to invade the Ukraine. And my family is, well, my DNA says I am like from all of Russia, from the indigenous East on my grandmother's side, all the way to the West, to Belarus and to Poland. And I didn't know, but Ukraine too. So I watched this unfolding, with people hoping it was going to be 3 weeks. And obviously, it's not. So there was an article in the New York Times in April of 22, and that April, the three monotheistic faiths, they all converged. It was Ramadan, Passover was in April of 22, Orthodox and Western Easter were in 22. So it was like all the, everything was aligning. And this is my poem. And I'm baptized in the Orthodox Church. And so here we go. In my church, Mary wears red. And there's an epigram from the New York Times. The Moscow Patriarch has repeatedly bestowed blessings on the Russian military, a historical golden icon of the Virgin Mary to a senior commander, for example, and casting the war as a holy struggle to protect Russia from what he called Western scourges like gay pride parades. He has been a vocal supporter of President Vladimir Putin, with the church receiving vast financial resources in return. And the writers were Neil McFarquhar and Sophie Kishovsky. And here's the poem. Let's take her out of the picture, out of the historical golden frame where she wouldn't stand for being in the pocket of a general scourge, the cold Eastern blame of the West. She sees the exchange of gold and gems, what those who do not have eternal life see fit to deal with. Let's take her out of this picture. She's left on the train to the sea. She's standing in the graves found in Bucha. She's wandering in the steel plant in Mariupol this Holy Week, this Passover feast, this month of fasting. She's covering her hair, her face. She's opening her hands and reading the central list of the dead. She's stepping into the Chornaya Mora, swimming mermaid-like, her red garments trailing the fishes and every broken mother's wishes to pull the dead sailors to shore in militias to show their weeping mothers, their blinded criminal country, the cost of lies, the cost of lives. And she rises, Venus-like from the sea, Stella Maris, Theotokos, Mother of Jesus, announcing the resurrection in this, the cruelest month of the year. Thank you. And this same Russian patriarch, he just, not exactly defrocked, but he demoted the priest who did Alexei Navalny's funeral. So this man for 2 years can't do weddings, baptisms, or funerals. And he sent him to some other parish in Moscow. So they waited several months to do this, probably thinking that nobody would listen to it in the New York Times. So in my head, there's a poem brewing for that also. I'll just read just a few more, and then I have a new one. I haven't been writing a lot of poetry lately. I've just been so busy at work, working on a play with students. So this is a sonnet. I think that Diane Seuss has brought sonnets back. So this one is called Coffee Break in Couplets, but it's from my 2020 book. I never finish what I begin in haste, picking my way through the rooms, finding papers, envelopes with dates. I enjoy cutting them into shreds and patches and filling the weekly recycle bag to brimming confetti. The dog always brings a toy in his triangle mouth, and the chase is on while the water boils in the stainless steel IKEA kettle. A train whistle, the end of the period, saved by the bell. The dog settles for a cookie, and I'm drawn away from the confetti to make a list. Words that multiply inside my head. Everything sounds like a prayer, the poem I was composing in my dreams when I was young with hard, dark hair, when I couldn't imagine that time would be presented in envelopes, in pulling ropes, in coffee breaks, and a list that runs me out till the end of the line. I love when you find a poem you wrote and you forgot about it. And actually, you're like, I kind of like that. I'll read that tonight. Right, two more. So this is from my friend Lisa Levine. She's a photographer, and we're actually working on a book of acrostic poetry, but our mothers were friends in Brooklyn. And the name of the poem is Brighton Beach Was Never Venice. Green water, South Pacific or Adriatic. Dream water, Grand Canal to Carnival. The masks they wore were not made in Italy, intermittent, mother tender water masks where they could not go. Brighton Beach, it beckons still, water wave, crashing save, still from the rocky reef refuge, the teeming shoreline left behind. An ocean supported, surrendered between 2 world wars and a generation. Lost, they swam with the fishes, watched the man in white who sold knishes and fed us from their wedding dishes. sea salty air and shoulders bare. Brighton Beach was never Venice. Thank you. I have one last poem. I'm going to read from my phone like my students do. I love it. I have no idea how they do this. They go to poetry readings, and I'm always afraid I'm going to lose them. Like the Wi-Fi won't work. Something terrifying will happen, and I'll be standing there with my iPhone like a middle-aged dope. All right, so this is called No Horses, No Ice. I've been warned, if I fall, my bones might fracture, broken like stars, an explosion of my very own Milky Way. I cried for a month, left my hockey skates on the back seat of the car, a sad reminder of how I used to escape. I have enough angst to skate the harbor. Just let it freeze over and I will take winter back as a lover. So much for fairy stories. So I've come to an arrangement. I watch my students play hockey. They get me rinkside, and every smash, slam, slash, bang is up close and pressing, full of compromised adrenaline and cold camaraderie. They're the #1 team in the nation, predicted to take home the Frozen Trophy. I watch, drawn to the visceral memory of stepping onto the frozen surface of another planet, so close to home where you move in spite of danger, and learning to fly becomes second nature. I never tell them. I'm there for support, to see them in their joy, study how they fall, heads up, shiny white helmets, and big eyes open like harbor seals, jumping up to fly like horses into a constellation of their own making, every one of them a star. Thank you. And they didn't win. They lost the last game to the University of Denver. So that was hard. They went all the way. And they've never heard that poem. I have no idea what they would say, but I do adore them all. Thank you so much. This was great. I really enjoyed reading it. Thank you all.
Give it up for him, Pluto.
How
Audible
nice.
and visual praise if you can.
Thank you. I look forward to hearing your work now.
And I definitely recommend supporting Lily Poetry Review and grabbing her new book, How Many Miles to Babylon. And if you have a PayPal or other cash grabbing app that you'd like to share for anyone who might be willing to donate, please do so. And thank you so much for your time here and for contributing. I hope we see you again sometime on the open mic, either as a open mic or as a feature again. I'm sure you have more work coming.
Thank you. I look forward to your work now.
Thank you. And with that, we'll get the open mic started. The Ramdinator 5000 has chosen, coincidentally enough, the person who already has his mic unmuted. Let's welcome up Mr. Ken Johnson.
Ha! How did I know? So, wait, am I muted or not? No.
You're unmuted. We can
I'm
hear you.
unmuted. I don't know why she was tapping her hair. Don't do that again. You confused me. So, where am I? Yes. Well, one of these days I'm going to learn how to actually get a picture up there, but I don't want to screw around with that today. If you have a second before I start reading, look up what's known as a painted lady. It's like a moth or a butterfly, but when you get a look at the underwing, it's like a black and white, like skeleton skull face. So if you can picture that, you can picture me running around in my backyard the other day, going gaga over these stupid bugs. But so I call this catching the painted lady. I'd wished to be acquainted with the painted lady, chasing her about our gardens over grass, spying focused pictures of her upturned wing, that macabre stare, the kiss of Jolly Jack. so much the staring eyes, the mummy raps to install fear within they who hungry gaze. But what knows the praying sparrow or the moss-floored toad of plague flags, privateer pirates, or Coptic corpses? Chased on through Elysian fields, have I to catch up, but not to check her on my list, nor pin her to a board. I have wished deep intimacy with the painted lady, so to command her, reveal your grim allure. Yet now to gaze into her eyes and fall into their depth brings no victory, but my haunting cries, my dance with dear black death. Thank you. We all need more
Thank you, Ken.
poems about insects. You're welcome.
There you go. Makes me wish Richard Spizak was here. He's got a bunch of them. Let's move on now to someone who was one of our feature poets for the month of April. We loved her stuff. I have your book, Mary, and let's bring her back, Marianne Honecker. Not to content to rest on her laurels, she's back as a Stone Soup open micer. Yes, the accolades continue. Actually, she's been an open micer before, but live. This is for her first time virtually.
Okay, I'll just read one. I wrote this one yesterday, so it's awfully new. Waiting for the night. And that final bright blaze before sunset, before gloaming, when the sun is level with our eyes, when the blacktop shines like the edge of flame, not yellow, not white, but rather a fuming glaze, is when we drive. Apollo aims his arrows slantwise across broad fields. How I long to be lanced by light, a stained glass window gifting my hue. Opposite the sun, the moon crests its wave of sky, glimmers translucent as a ghost. How I long to live in the night like the moon, sustained by the light of my lover's face. The trees in their looming quietude are burnished on one side, draped stark shadows behind. Dogwood trees and forsythia gleam like pieces in a gallery, each with its own light. The houses are blind. The panes of glass reflect back flat shine. The moon's pale specter haunts me. I look for her over houses, between trees. There's so much night in me, dew-drenched grass, darkling nourishment. I know night will soon rise from mountaintops like a swell of sea. We move our visors as the road bends and dips. We mean to cast our eyes in shadow. The uproar of the birds is like a stadium of fans. Somewhere under a cool rock outcropping, a snake sleeps, coiled into itself in quiet. After the sun abates, offering its outcry of color as the clouds pluck a melody, after the birds grow frantic, almost keening before they recede into the black trees of night, the serpent will stretch itself full length and slither silently through the grasses. That's all.
That's enough. Thanks so much for sharing.
You're welcome.
And now let's bring it on to Mr. Magister, the man who calls himself Magister Galt, also known as Edward S. Galt, also known as one of the contributors to Oddball Magazine's celebration of National Poetry Month, where we focus on our writer-artist contributors. Galt's been a regular contributor to Oddball in terms of photography and poetry. You can see his latest work in Monday's Oddball, collaborating with a photo to go with a poem by Lynn White. But for now, let's go to Mr. Galt with his own work.
Thank you. This was the one I actually published in Oddball a couple weeks ago, called Dairy Queen Night. So who here likes ice cream? Hmm? Okay. Um, Dairy Queen night. The streets were peaceful. Those summers I was growing up, tree branches arched over on both sides of the street, giving us the shelter of shade as we played our games. Sometimes it was street hockey. On other evenings, it was baseball. Saturday afternoons, we would reenact the gunfight we had just seen on TV with the kids on Sherwood Ave, the next block over. On Fridays, Dad would take us to the Dairy Queen. It was on street hockey night that Dad called us to the car. Benny had just scored a goal for us. The game was still close, though. Still, I wasn't going to miss ice cream night. But we weren't going to finish the game. We weren't going to have ice cream. This is when we saw the tanks at the end of the block. We had heard what the tanks had done to other towns. Now they had come to ours. They started firing on our homes. I could hear the bombs exploding downtown. The next day, nothing was left. Not even the Dairy Queen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Magister Meister. Anyway, we are going down the open mic list, and next up we have someone who came to our open mic when we had Rich Boucher feature at the top of National Poetry Month. I'm glad he's back. Let's welcome up Mr. Mark States.
Thank you, Chad. Happy to be here again. The past is present. A house of shingles ensnared in vines and brush, as if a coil of barbed wire was stretched, then twisted out of shape. One side visible as the house jutted out closer to the sidewalk than the house next to it, the one with the spacious yard where children and dogs frolicked. Upon occasion, you might notice a slat of a Venetian blind twitch above that coiling brush. The other side of the house was a foreboding melange of haphazardly placed tree branches like a game of pick-up sticks conducted in midair at adult's height. What mystery or horror awaited anyone who dared take path to its door? A couple afternoons a week, a figure emerged from that house. No one on the block knew his name. We just called him the old man, adults and children alike. Plain, simple, white shirt, dusty, gray suit coat. It was like he stepped out of a 1950s black and white TV. A book in his left hand always, head more down than forward and walking north. If he saw children playing outside, he'd slow down, pace the sidewalk crack, teetering like a tightrope artist sticking out his arms. He'd pretend to lose balance and swirl around while whooshing like an airplane, landing with a giggle and a smile. The old man would ask us a couple questions about our day or what we were playing before challenging us to be good now and walking away to wherever he was going. The old man from our block reminded me of the old man from the Cracker Jacks commercials on my 1970s TV. Not his face, his smile, his kindness. I trusted him. Nowadays, I am known for waving at every passing car as I walk through the parking lot in our complex. Children walking with their parents wave and dance and giggle while across the lawn I slow, giggle, dance, and wave back. In our world of stranger danger and horror stories awaiting a tap of a finger on a cell phone, I can only hope 40 years from now, someone will tell the story of the old man in a beanie cap who, with a magical hand clap, brought a sunshine smile to a child's face and life. Only then, the circle of my life will truly be complete. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mark. Hope you see you again. I'll be probably asking more people from the West Coast and elsewhere to and more mutual friends to come feature at Stone Soup as the year progresses. Up next, let's get someone local to the Boston area. Let's welcome up Jan Rowe of the Black Seed Writers Group. The Remnant Eater at 5,000 has a way of startling. So, thank you. Yes, please show that again.
Nancy Dodson's memorial service. Carol Weston called us the day before and said, Nancy's memorial service is at Mount Auburn tomorrow, but she didn't know what time. Then she found out and told us, and they had a very nice meal afterwards and met her brother, niece, and so on. But I want to read something that should go into the Black Seed Weekly at 138 Tremont, Boston Common. This is called Increased Rent, the Elephant in the Room. A while back, before expanded meditation and rested in the Lord, Tuesdays 11 to 12, a traveler from Europe came into the sanctuary, admiring its beauty. Before meditation began, she mentioned a pen pal of decades in the area and was finally able to meet in person. However, her pen pal, upon retirement, had been forced from the city due to increased cost of housing. Could this happen to me? I was able to save money when rent was 30% of my income. Purchasing a house was within reach. Now my rent is closer to 50% of my income. This changes things. What Trump paid daily for legal expenses every day in February is about equal to my whole life savings. He paid $238,000 a day to lawyers. Okay, so I can't afford $3,000 to $4,000 a month rent. So I'm in need of affordable housing. Sounds slightly undesirable. I find gateway cities definitely undesirable. Gateway Cities has built 4,000 of these units, renting $4,000 a month. Why then does Gateway Cities have the audacity to ask the state for $57 million this year and $30 million each year thereafter? Now being forced, greed maybe, being forced for the city for lower rent is confounded as cars are increasingly expensive. Even subprime auto loans blooming like the mortgages did. You know, where Trump got the $175 million from the guy who has about $7 billion and also repossessed active service duties. They're overseas. He took their cars illegally. Okay, so years ago, when a winter storm closed the roads, nursing home workers could not get into work as car dependent. Too many people were stuck in wheelchairs in danger of skin breakdown to the bone. Now here, I want to inject a music thing by George Thorogood, Bad to the Bone, because sometimes music helps with these horrible things. So currently in New York, about 70% of the real estate is bought all cash real estate with no mortgages. So who has this kind of money? All the wrong people do. Those who keep too many of us arguing about migrants taking housing for the poor, those people. Also, most people I know have some type of housing voucher or multiple roommates or have been on waiting list, some for years. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. And now we segue to Mr. Bill Lewis, Out on the Range.
Zounds! Just a moment, it takes a little bit of preparation, some thought, and I should begin by, this is a poem that I have written as soon as I can get these things working right. Oh, these computers, you young kids and all your doodad computer thingamajiggies, it's so confusing. So I entitled this particular poem, it is dedicated to Henrietta, and I call it Oh, what a beautiful baby! Oh, yes, darling. Oh, my sweet little chicken. Oh, that's so wonderful. They're so, oh my goodness, look at that. Look at that. Oh, what a good mommy you are. Oh, what a good mommy. Look, 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 look. Ah. Oh. Ooh, okay, that took a little bit of effort. So that is my dedicate by my, yeah, whatever. Yes, 9 beautiful chicks. Now, as you know, I teach school. I have taught school for my entire life. High school, university, blah, 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 blah. Sometimes elementary school. I've substituted at everything. And I don't know what you know like chickens are, but chickens, they're not kids. Kids. So my class today, I just finished a class a couple of hours ago, and I am flying high. My students make me want to cry. For joy, success for all we've done, for programs written, it's been fun. I look at them, my heart is glad, my kids are happy. That can't be bad. What more in life can a man desire than to know his spark will not expire? That others live on, inspired by him, that the love in his heart will never dim. I have the best students in the world. I am such a lucky person or something. So yes, life is beautiful as long as we are out there taking care of each other. Blah, blah, blah. And then I get on a soapbox and tell you what to do. Remember, this is our country. What happens in our country is because of us. We can make things better. You have to be involved. Memes don't help. Get out there, do your part. Blah, 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 blah. And that's about when the kids think I'm going at it too. Blah, 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 blah.
Son, I say, what do you mean memes don't work, son? You gotta know the kid how to talk the kids' lingo. Anyway, let's let us go to, oh yes, John Wesick as our next open micer.
Hi,
Here we
so on Sunday, poet Jerome Rothenberg died, and I used to hear him a lot in San Diego and even once at Naropa. He was a an emeritus professor at UC San Diego. He did a lot of anthologies, Technicians of the Sacred, and this millennial poetry, the big thing. I have some of his books signed by him. They're buried away someplace, so I just pulled a few things down from the internet, and I will read a few Jerome Rothenberg poems. That Dada strain, the zigzag mothers of the gods, of science, the lunatic fixed stars and pharmacies, fathers who left the tents of anarchism unguarded, the Arctic bones strung out on Saint Germain like tom-toms, living light bulbs, aphrodisia, hard as junk, the urinal says, dig a hole and swim in it, a message from the grim computer, ye are hamburgers. And he spent a lot of time in Paris. And here's one called, let's find it, Dreamwork 3. Excuse me, the computer is acting up on me. A trembling old man dreams of a Chinese garden. A comical old man dreams of newspapers under his rabbi's hat. A simple tavern keeper dreams of icicles and fish eyes. A sinister tavern keeper dreams of puddles with an angel of the law in every drop. A furrier's plump daughter is dreaming of a patch of old vanilla. The furrier's foreign daughter is dreaming of a hat from which a martin hangs. The proud accountant dreams of a trolley car over the frozen river. The reluctant accountant dreams of his feet sleep in fresh pair of red socks. The silly uncle dreams of a history written by a team of Spanish doctors. The uncle in the next apartment dreams of the cost of Kathmandu. The retired gangster dreams of a right turn into a field of sacred lemons. The dancing gangster dreams of a carriage, a donkey, and a hand that holds the ace of spades. The grim man with the proposition dreams of his fingers entering a pair of gloves. The excited man with a proposition dreams of the letter E torn from the title of this poem. The remarkable elevator operator dreams of the marriage of Karl Marx. The easy elevator operator dreams of a seashell at the entry to the 13th floor. The candid photographer dreams of a wooden synagogue inside his brother's camera. The secret photographer dreams of a school of golden herrings drifting out to sea. The Yiddish Dadaist dreams of rare steaks and platonic pleasures. The rosy Dadaist dreams that a honeycomb is being squashed against his face. The mysterious stranger dreams of a white tablecloth on which black threads are falling. The stranger whom no one sees dreams of his sister holding up a string of pearls. The asthmatic tax collector dreams of a row of sacred numbers. The rebellious tax collector dreams of a bathhouse set among old trees. The robust timber merchant dreams of a wind that blows inside the blacksmith's bellows. The sobbing timber merchant dreams that his hands have pressed the buttocks of his dreaming bride. The man with a fish between his teeth dreams of a famine for 45 days. The man dressed in white dreams of a potato. The savage Gentile dreams of a dancer with flashy light bulbs on her shoes. The repentant Gentile dreams of her fingers bringing honey to his lips. The fancy barber dreams that his hands massage the captain's neck. The silent barber dreams of a rooster with a thread tied to one leg. The salty bridegroom dreams of horses galloping. They swirl around the bridegroom's house. The genuflecting bridegroom dreams of what his bride slides through her fingers. He sees it white and trembling in the early Sabbath light. The fat man in the derby dreams that it is spring and that his seed soon will be falling through an empty sky. The ecstatic man in the derby dreams that if he dreams it, his words will turn into flowers. Jerome Rosenberg, rest in peace. He was 92 years old. Rothenberg, sorry, not Rosenberg.
Not to be confused with Rothenberg and Gilstein are dead. So, thank you, John. And that was a very touching tribute. I had seen that news, but haven't followed up, but I definitely will after this reading. And we have a couple people who have a couple of people left on the open mic. Oh, thanks, John. And well, let's go to our visual poet, Mr. Robert Fleming.
Good evening. I'm Robert Fleming, a visual poet from Lewis, Delaware. Would I be able to share the screen? Thank you. I'm also one of the publishers of Old Scratch Press, which has a website and a blog. The marketing lead, Naja, has asked all of the editors to create 2 submissions for the blog this year. I completed my first one in February about Valentine's Day. My second one will be in June for gay and lesbian pride. And I'm going to share on the creation of that article. I chose to create a text interview to get the information I needed. One of the fundamentals about the interview is that it's focusing on what the press has to offer the readers, not what the press has to offer the writers. So I first wrote a solicitation letter to the press where I first mentioned when I had been published in the press and what they had published of mine. Go down a little. And then I explained that we're planning on putting a blog together for the posts for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender questioning 2024 Pride. And I want to write a blog for that. I asked one of the presses, Beyond the Veil, who is a publisher of books, whether they are interested in participating. And if they would, I gave them the schedule and asked for the names of the people who are responding, and told them that I will be putting the photographs of the responders in the blog, and I probably will crop the photo just to a headshot. So my first question was, what genres have you published? What themes? For Pride reading, what do you recommend in your catalog and why? Outside of your catalog, what do you recommend and why? What are your published authors' books and what do they offer the reader? I asked for 2 of them. What are your upcoming author books and what do they offer the reader? And I asked for 2 of them. And then for the longer an acronym now for LGBT, for the last part of the acronym QIA, I asked, do you have any offerings whom the protagonist voice are the last added? If yes, what do they offer the reader in themes and forms? And here was the response from the editor-in-chief of Beyond the Veil Press, Sarah Hennon, who is the co-founder and editor. She approved me cropping her photographs. And what opportunities do you have for readers? We publish work centered on themes of mental health awareness. As a reader, one could find voices similar to their own and learn of new experiences they may also relate with. Sharing work on such vulnerable topics of violence against queer people or surviving sexual assault builds empathy and community. What genres have you published? We publish print anthologies of poetry and visual art, as well as ebooks. For Pride reading, what do you recommend? We've published 2 anthologies. We apologize for the inconvenience in response to the Club Q shooting in November 2022 and Relics of Unbearable Softness with the theme of queer joy. Outside of the catalog, what do you recommend? We suggest work by Ouch Magazine, a queer-focused zine based in California, and Carentia Press based in Chicago, who donates a lot of their proceeds to nonprofits. And what are your published books? They recommended Neurotica for the Modern Doom Scroller by Eddie Brophy, offers a relatable book at doom scroll culture and examines the collective trauma that millennials have grown up with, and Heretic, a story of spiritual liberation. And what are their upcoming books? Taking Back the Body and Acid Rain Epithelium. So I just wanted to give you a flavor of what I was going through to create the article, which I will be writing for the blog. And I also possibly will be including 1 or 2 poems, which Beyond the Veil Press has published of mine. And I look forward to publishing the blog by June 1st for GLDB blog. And I'm grateful that Beyond the Veil has responded. So I have something to give to Nadja, our marketing director. Thank you for letting me share my preparation as a journalist.
Thank you, Mr. Fleming. And now, before we get to our 2 closers, let's have a little musical interlude with the person I call the Pulse of Stone Soup, the pulse of the poetry scene in Boston, and many other scenes. Let's welcome up Mr. Ethan Mackler.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ethan. And let's welcome back someone we haven't seen for a little bit. He's been doing his own thing in his own neck of the woods, poetry-wise, publication-wise, show-wise. Let's welcome up CCS Chagra.
Oh, wow. Hi, everyone. I'm exhausted. So, yes, I have a book, and yes, I've been mega busy with all kinds of things and all kinds of media and live and just I want to read the opening lines and then I want to give the rest of my time to the feature because I missed her. So if she'll accept that invitation, in my book, it's the only poem in the book that has an anchor to a person rather than each poem is about all of us. The Jack of Poets dealt with the art of voices feeding you at the end of all moments that die. To guard hunger's right, to speak free of truths starving, a recipe to savor the heart of time. And if you will allow me, and because I missed you, if I can give the rest of my time and maybe get an encore out of Annie Pluto, thank you. Is that okay?
That's very kind. Is that all right? I'll read one poem.
I was going to read a long one if that helps.
I've got one. Yeah. Okay. This is a poem I really like to read. I haven't read it in a while, so here we go. I read several poems about my father, so this is another one, and it's called I Have Been to Samarkand for my father. 2 years ago, May now as you made yourself ready for death, I wanted to remain, relieve her of her duty, and be a good daughter. You sent me home to die with her alone. I have been to Samarkand that final time, a journey by water, the dream geography more full than life, the mosque, the church, the covered women singing, the stations of the cross, the goblin boat to take me back by morning. I travel by train north and walk to the park. It's hot and burning to see the icons at the Met, to look into the eyes of each and every opalescent virgin. In the houses of the Father, she guides the souls in comfort to Samara. Her eyes follow me. At home, I present you a gift, war traveler, who prayed at every house of the Father. Saint Sophia's in Kiev, the Friday Mosque of Tashkent, the Bukharian Synagogue on Sepurnoye Street, the tomb of the prophet Daniel, where his stolen bones grow in stops along the bloody way. In Iran, Iraq, in Syria, then Lebanon, in Egypt and Palestine, in Bethlehem at the Church of the Nativity, where the Ottoman Turks had made the doorways 4 feet high to keep the wild horsemen out, to Jerusalem, where they meet God as three, a trinity of one almighty city to destroy the houses of the Father, a caravanserai on the journey backwards to Samara. You put messages in the wall, went into the Holy Sepulchre, and stumbled along the Via Dolorosa, saw the dome of the rock where Muhammad rode a winged stallion to heaven. Across the Mediterranean, in Monte Cassino, you protected the mountain, then the monastery, and in Rome lifted your face to the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. Now hear the word of God as the pain goes through you like hot lead, as your bones move lengthwise into sleep upon the bed. I have brought you your last book. In prescience and redemption, in secret and in silence, open it alone. Look, study the compassionate face of Mary, the distant face of Christ. the icons we cannot escape, imprinted on us since baptism. I hear you pray, and I pray too for your life that spanned the century. Let the light hold fast. Enter Hagia Sophia, the final house of the Father. Go then backwards to Samara. Leave your shoes at the door. See Christ who never was removed before your destiny is achieved. Explore. Arise and go, Vladimir, for the kingdom of heaven is upon you. Thank you.
Never had an early encore before, but I'll take it. That was amazing. CC, follow that killer. If you're ready to read.
You want me to read still after that? Is that
Yeah,
what
why
you're
not?
saying?
We still have you and James Van Loy, so let's oh, where'd you go?
I don't know. Where'd I go? Are you still there?
You're there. You just felt
Oh,
you
geez,
just
I disappeared. I don't know where I am. Now, hold on a second. Let's see,
you're
Zoom.
there.
Okay, now I'm on a cell phone, which is I don't know how to do it. I usually don't. I usually do this on a laptop. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear
No?
you. Do you want to read?
Oh, you could hear me. You could hear me.
Yeah.
Okay, I was looking for the microphone. All right. Okay. Yeah, David Doc Cody. I don't know how many of you remember David Doc Cody, but I wouldn't be who I am, where I am, or what I am without David in my life. And I miss him like you won't believe. And this is the only poem in the book that's not called Open Microphone. It's called Open Love, #1, Poet Doctor, for David Doc Cody. Oh, angel, angel of light, angel of dark, angel of nothing. Oh, empty, empty angel. Oh, angel of raw love, angel of hungry, angel of no one. Oh, angel, angel of no chance. Oh, catcher, catcher of words, words falling, falling to the refuse of language, to the soil, soil of grammar, and a garden, garden of art, and a world, world of literature, under a sky of poetry, and round the sun of reminders so blinding. Oh, Dharma, Dharma of laughter, poet, doctor of truth's end. Oh, harsh, gentle kindness. Oh, you critical love seed. What? Oh, what comes? Oh, what comes and transcends from a poem? What? Oh, what comes? What comes and transcends from no thing? Doc's favorite 2 words were no thing. Love that man. Salty bastard. I love telling this little tale that one time I said, Doc, it's like you're like the greatest friend I've ever had. And he goes, no, I'm not. He goes, patience and humility. Those are your friends. Your only 2 friends you'll ever have. Yeah, real Bukowski moment. I love it. Anyway, Doc. That's it.
Thank you, CC.
James, where's Carol? How's Carol doing?
Carol's still seeing family as far as I remember. We have John Galloway listening to us from his phone.
I do
Well,
my best to get here if and when I can, but I'm spread out pretty thin. But I love you guys.
Keep up the work, sir. We will keep in touch. We'll keep in touch.
I'm going to try something new soon because I have too many back projects and I'm trying to find a way to get them out there. So I'll come back and announce that if I figure it out.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Up
To be
next,
announced.
oh, sorry, I didn't mean to unmute you, but we we have our closer tonight. Reminder to anyone who's been writing poetry this what's been hopefully a fruitful April. We recommend you submit to Oddball Magazine at oddballmagazine.com. Coming up next is one of our regular poet columnists who writes something for every Thursday at 11 o'clock in the morning. His poem column series is called It's All One Thing, and reading yet another chapter, if you will, from that series. Let's welcome up Mr. James Van Loy.
Thanks, Chad. So I got a poem that I think kind of goes with what Jan did here. It's called Labyrinth is Innocence. So it's one of the Labyrinth poems. Innocence must be its own reward since it so rarely otherwise finds support. A man washed out to sea by a tsunami waves to us from his improvised raft of ripped out trees and debris of houses that floats on one of the back pages. Next to it, a Sentinelese tribesman shoots an arrow at our eye in an Indian Coast Guard helicopter from his island home that apparently does not need our technological interventions. They say that somehow these indigenes and many coastal animals sense what our more sophisticated awareness missed, the coming of a tidal wave of seismic proportions. We look at our coastal home and shudder. Would we know enough to move inland in time? The tectonic plates under the south end and back bay shift and quiver beneath the foundations set in tidal flats. The real estate deals of a whole generation teeter far, far above all us lost citizens. We clutch deeds and credit cards. How many pieces and parcels can we take out and stack on top the whole structure before the game finally ends in a crash, Jenga, like a wave tsunami that breaks against the hills of our ever-growing sophistication? Here's a quick song to go with it. Angels and animals, animals and angels, angels and animals, animals and angels, angels and animals. It's not as if animals can't have wings or that angels never indulge in a fling. Bats and squirrels embark on brave flight. Men see angels in the midst of that fight. If angels can truly couple and animals so perfectly can people the startled moments of the black night, perhaps we won't embarrass the light with our shadowy, convoluted forms are tugging the slithering earthworm from its rightful homes. Our desperate deliberations on what remains disparate. Angels and animals, animals and angels.
Thank you, James. Thanks to everyone who came to the open mic. Thanks to everyone who came to listen. And thanks to, especially to our feature, Elizabeth Pluto. The book, the link to the book I'll be putting out tomorrow when I post a screenshot from tonight, and I post the video on YouTube. I urge you to get her book from Lily Poetry Press, which is a fine local press, still a baby in terms of like some of the presses who've been around like Ibbotson, but already very vibrant and still continuing to put out amazing work. Check out Nix's Mate Review. It's got Anne's hands all over it too. I've been doing enough praise of that, and they've been responsible for many of our good features as well coming up, including Linda Carney Goodrich, who heralded the start of April back in last Wednesday of March. Though there's a lot going on in poetry. There's a lot going here every week. All we need is you, and it's going to be perfect. And with that, I thank Anne once again. And time to, oops, somebody is sending a message. Yes, thank you, Anne. That was wonderful. Any other information like PayPal, Venmo, or whatever you want to provide, I'll also post that on the list. You can send that to me directly. For now, we do the community wave. Looks good for the screenshot. And thank you all for coming tonight. It's a fantastic night. May's just getting started. Stone Soup's just getting started. More announcements to come. Thank you guys so much. 53 years and counting. I feel I've been alive for all of them. And we will, but I haven't. And God bless those of you who have. And we will see you guys again very soon. Have an excellent evening, wonderful evening. Get some sleep. Or as someone would say in the cartoons of Nickelodeon's early days, the show's over. See you next time.